The
Aha.
air is Velcro to the earth. Otherwise, we should just be able to jump in the air. And if we got some
Aha.
like Michael Jordan hang time and land in San Francisco.
Dude, you can't have it both ways, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying.
Dang. But people do it all day long. Yeah.
So the Earth-based Coriolis effect, they say that when a sniper fires a bullet or you shoot an artillery shell, all of a sudden that piece is not connected to the Earth and the Earth spins out from underneath the bullet. But when you're in an airplane or a hot air balloon, that doesn't matter, right?
Once again, yet another coincidence.
So then you go, okay, what about the SR-71 Blackbird? That's faster than a bullet. So why didn't they have to account for Coriolis effect? Why didn't they just go real fast, like in a circle, right, and wait for the Earth to just like wherever they wanted to go, wait for the Earth to spin underneath them to where they wanted to be?
I always loved it when you guys used to talk about that like 4 years ago. So enjoyable. I mean, I remember giggling over that one many times. I mean, it would be so convenient if we could do that. Think of the gas that we would save. You know, travel would be so much more convenient for everyone. If
Right?
the
You could
globe,
jump off. You
it's
could jump off
true.
the Empire State Building, wait for the Earth to spin out from underneath you, and land in the Pacific Ocean.
Like a flying squirrel. That would be great. Oh my gosh. Oh wow. Okay. I I don't know. That's the best that I've ever heard about would I really want it to be a ball. This would be the perfect example.
There's two things like these. Some of these things they annoy me because you just ask yourself this one simple question. They say this XYZ is some phenomenon that's being observed. And you go, okay, was that invented or discovered? Did someone think of it? Or did they discover it and then they were like, why is this discovery happening? And then they went and they did some test experiments to figure out what it was. Right? So, like outer space. Was outer space invented or was it discovered? And if it was discovered, where's the statue of the person that discovered the universe? We got statues for Columbus and he only discovered America. So who discovered the
Allegedly.
universe and where's his statue? See, yeah, that's right. Because this shit just gets crazy absurd, man. If you really think about it and apply some like, rational, critical thinking to it, it's all absurd.
Your universe discoverer would be Neil Armstrong, I guess, right?
Oh no. He don't get nothing. No.
I guess it was Yuri Gagarin, right? Like he had to be he discovered the universe. Someone invented it, and then he discovered the invention. But we know who invented it. It was Epicurus in 325 BC. He invented outer space.
Wow.
And some crazy Greek guy, some other crazy Greek guy, did some gay Martian moon men or something.
Guess he didn't have the second
can't
law of
wait to get into that.
thermodynamics back then, did he? So
No, he didn't know about that.
So is Epicurus one that Lucian ridiculed? Or
No, I
is
don't
that
think
not even
so. No, he was dead
okay?
supposedly about 800 years.
Okay.
So think the guy that invented outer space was alive in something like 325 BC. They didn't have clocks. The number 0 wasn't even invented yet. But he invented outer space.
You said 325 BC.
Yes, somewhere around
Whoa.
there.
Okay. That's incredible.
Yeah. It only took 2,000 years to verify his idea.
So awkward. That's pretty awkward.
That's why, remember I was saying
2000
earlier,
years.
Jen, the history of it, there's so much garbage in it. That's more convincing than the science, quite honestly.
Backwards, clown world. That's what we live in now. This is it. This is our reality now. Yep, good thing we kind of know how to navigate it a little bit, so I can appreciate that. Man.
So I mean, if you look at it objectively, outer space, space travel, planets, all that stuff is a worldwide obsession. The idea of it.
Dude, you're making me think about my my epiphany I had when I discovered what scientism was, dude. Yeah. It's a
But then when you
serious
think of it,
business.
like all this stuff about outer space, and then if you look at the history of it, some guy in 325 BC came up with almost all this crap with nothing that you would think is the scientific method. He just thought of these ideas in his head. He didn't have any science. He didn't have like none of this. I don't know what was around in 325 BC, but nothing that would indicate that, there's a space vacuum. I know that.
Wait a minute. Say that again. That last thing I floated off
I
almost.
said there was nothing that would indicate that the Earth is in a big space vacuum.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to think like what existed in 325 BC.
I think
There's
a
no
lot of
theory of
rock.
gravity. There was like you could think of almost anything you use in the modern day, other than the wheel, and fire. Nothing that we use now existed then.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think that's Bronze Age, right? They didn't even invented steel yet.
Well, I was saying there'd probably be a lot of rocks involved in the environment. What I was kind of thinking. Maybe more terrain. I don't know. I don't know. How is it that person is someone that's still actually put out there as if it was a verified person? The Epicurean
They
side.
still talk about him. They still talk about him.
It's like Aristophanes. I mean, what was his era? What he BC as well? I forget. Or was he like the first century AD? Hey, did you ever come up with that link for like making the connections
Oh
of
no, hold on. Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah.
I want to read this real quick though.
Okay.
Epicurus holds that there must be an infinite supply of atoms, although only a finite number of types of atoms, as well as an infinite amount of void. He explains his position in a letter to Herodotus. Herodotus was a famous historian from then. Kind of funny that they knew each other. Anyway. Moreover, the sum of things is unlimited, both by reason of the multitude of atoms and the extent of the void. For if the void were infinite and bodies finite, the bodies would not have stayed anywhere, but would have dispersed in their course through the infinite void, not having any supports or counterchecks to send them back on their upward rebound. Again, if the void were finite, the infinity of bodies would not have anywhere to be.
Woo, that's be juicy. We could talk about that for a long time, probably.
And they still talk about them because if you watch any talk given by a scientist, if they talk anything about atoms or space, they usually will give like a little history of how humanity figured all this out. And they always start with the Epicureans and how they thought atoms were the most fundamental particle, which is wrong,
Well,
which we know now is
right.
wrong.
Right. Correct.
Wrong about atoms, correct about space, apparently. No, see, this is the way it really works, right? So mankind believed in the metaphysics. Well, the people that were doing so-called science believed in the metaphysics of Epicurus, and they went and performed confirmation bias and cherry picking, and only collected the data that supported their opinion and threw away the rest.
Nothing new under the sun.
And that's exactly what the globe concept is. It's the supreme effort of cherry picking and confirmation bias.
Definitely
Because this is how they work. Like, we have earthquakes. Let's try to explain earthquakes. Well, where are earthquakes happening? Oh, they're happening on a ball. How can we make that math to work with earthquakes on a ball? Oh, this formula makes it work. Oh, okay. Like, they couldn't just use some other shape, right, and make it work? You can use any shape. Literally. When you have an idea, when you set a parameter, right? So this is the parameter I'm going to set, and I'm going to look for mathematics that fit within this parameter I've set, this presupposition. You can make it work. And if it doesn't work, you just say, oh, we haven't figured it out. We need more time. Give us some more money so we can collect more data.
Just so we can destroy it and not build it ever again.
And this is why affirming the consequent is a logical fallacy.
I think I saved somebody's playlist on logical fallacies. Isn't it Drake's channel? I do believe. I still need to get better at naming them. Somebody's trying to do those things, but I need to get better at calling those out.
Well, I think it's funny when they're like, explain this, flat earther, explain that. Like,
and then immediately,
listen, give me 2,000 years and a few $1 trillion over the course of 2,000 years. I'll be explain everything. I'll have a story for everything.
Yep. You want stories? We'll give you stories.
But we're not going to tell stories. I refuse, personally. I'm not going to make up nonsense. And people don't understand that physics was invented to support the philosophy of metaphysics. People have this idea that, they started doing physics and then they started doing philosophy. No, they started doing philosophy, and then this guy would have his philosophy, and this guy would have some other philosophy, and they would debate each other, and then, they would try to look for things in the natural world to support their position, right?
Well,
of course,
actually,
if you look hard enough, you're going to find things that contradict your position. So they're going to go out into the world and cherry pick observations that match their metaphysics, and they're going to throw away the ones that don't.
Yeah, like your mother of all coincidence theories, the one you were talking about earlier. The 3.22, I believe it is, right?
Yeah, the horizon coincidence.
The horizon coincidence. I love it. Nice. That's so great. It makes it seem like it's super serious, like a pair.
A horizon conspiracy. In the last 3 days, we've had a couple Globers in the lobby say, the very fact that there's a horizon proves that the Earth is not flat. I don't get this, man. This shit is so epically dumb. There can't be a horizon on a flat Earth. This is what they think. Why would anyone think that?
That's where Crypto's argument for that one is great. Super simple. Like, well, if you don't think there would be a horizon on the flat Earth, then which would it be? All ground or all sky?
That's actually my argument, but okay.
Oh, did he take that from you?
I
Did he?
don't know.
I thought I heard him saying it. Maybe
You might have. That's like, yeah, I came up with it like, I don't know, 6 months ago. But after dealing with it for like a few years, like I didn't have like, of course, I can show that it's not true, but like I never really thought of a easy way to put it. Because what would, like, you got to think, what would the consequence? What does no horizon actually look like? Right? What does no horizon? What does a world with no horizon look like? You're floating in the sky, or you're freaking buried underground.
Right. The horizon coincidence.
Yeah, did you hear the horizon coincidence? You might have heard it before, Lou.
Let me guess. It has to do with the distance, that 1.225 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, blah, 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 blah. Just so happens that the horizon also matches up with the angle of view that your vision gets cut off across like a planar surface, right? That
Yeah. Exactly. Well, it's not. I mean, the first part, the 1.22. I mean, that's still the kind of same thing. But for a 6-foot observer, for a 6-foot person, the globe for a 6-foot person, the globe horizon distance and the flat Earth horizon distance are identical. Identical within, like, what is it, like 100 and something feet?
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
The horizon coincidence.
I liked what Lou had to say, though. I just like anything that, goes along with the tag coincidence theorist.
There's so many coincidences.
You should come up with a top 10. Like David Letterman style. Oh, what?
The sun and moon size coincidence, man. That's the ultimate coincidence.
Well, yeah. What are the
always
odds
seeing the
of
same
that?
face of the moon, right? So the moon orbits perfectly so that we always see the same face. So it's coincidentally that the speed of the rotation of the moon is coincident with the rotation of the Earth and the orbit. So that the face is always facing us.
And then it's coincidentally the same apparent size as the sun.
Yeah. Pure accident.
You think you could do a David Letterman's top 10 of FE coincidences?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. There's quite a few of them. Can't think of any up the top of my head right now. But there's a whole bunch of cosmic coincidences.
I don't know. Somebody had to calculate
day. This one's kind of hard to explain, though. Sidereal day, like, what do they say? I'm sure you've heard this, right? Like, how come after 6 months we're not facing different stars if we're on the other side of the orbit? Right? We should be looking away from the sun. Right? Stay like at night, I'm looking away from the sun, right? So exactly 6 months from there, you're on the other side of the orbit. When you look away from the sun, you should be seeing a completely different set of stars.
There should be a 12-hour difference in the clock, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But they cured this with this thing called the sidereal day, that we don't exactly orbit 24 hours. And the leap year, they fixed with that too. So we don't exactly do like a full rotation. We do almost a full rotation.
So is that
so at the end of 6 months that we lost 180 degrees. Right. So you take instead of you just, I don't know how you would put it. It's almost 360 degrees. It's 365 days. You gotta think. How many degrees are in a circle? 360. But we have 365 days in a year.
Well, wouldn't the amount of days, isn't it something fractional to 364 or something?
Well, yeah, there's this thing called the sidereal day. Like the Earth doesn't. Hey, here's the funny thing is, all right, so you got to think of it like this. If I was sitting on the face of the sun, right, and I was looking at the Earth. Now the Earth is orbiting around me, right, and it's rotating. Every time it does one rotation, it moves some distance. But that rotation after 24 hours is like think of it as like almost like a slippage, so that's a little bit short. So that like I'm not facing, like, say I was looking at North America, but the next rotation and it's moved along in its orbit, and I'm looking at it. It hasn't done a full rotation. I'm looking at some other part of the Earth, and it just keeps doing this. You got to think of it as like a tire slipping on the ground, right? It doesn't do a full rotation. It does a partial rotation. But here's where it gets kind of weird. This leap year thing, when you start adding in the leap year, you think that like after 4 years, because of this sidereal, like you're losing like a quarter of a day, right? So after 4 years, we add a day. But it's not an accumulation of days as it's supposed to be. It isn't like, okay, year 1 goes by, we lost a quarter of a day. We gained a quarter of a day, and then a year 2 goes by, we half a day. Year 3, 3/4 of a day, and then year 4, we got a full day, so we got to add a day to the calendar. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
and reality doesn't actually work like that. So, if you take a stick and you stick it in the ground on the equinox, right, and you count sunrises until the sun comes back to where sun rises right at that stick again. Right, so think about this. Sunrise on the equinox. I look at it, see where it is. I take a stick, I stick it in the ground, and line it up with where the sun rose. And then I count sunrises until it rises in that exact same location. Now, for 3 years, I'm going to count 365 days. On the 4th year, there's going to be 366 days.
What?
There's legitimately an extra day.
What?
That's what I was trying to tell you. It's not cumulative. They try to lead you to believe that it is. That because this sidereal day, right, we're losing time, right, because the orbit doesn't mathematically match up with the rotation, so we're losing time. So you have the clock versus the calendar, right? So we count the hours on the clock and we count the days on the calendar. So they try to say, well, the clock and the calendar don't exactly match up, so we have to add a day to the calendar.
Whoa.
No,
So
they're
that's
not actually linked up at all, because if you actually count the sunrises and sunsets, instead of like going by the clock, right, you actually count how many times did the sun rise till it came back up at this stick. 3 times in a row, it could be 365 days, and on the 4th year, it'd be 365 days. 366 days, sorry. 366 days on the 4th year.
So
It's an entire extra day. A sunrise, solar, noon, and sunset.
So that's straight up disinformation, what you described, what they tell us is happening, or make us believe. They lead us to believe.
What they make you believe is that the orbit, it's not like, it does a little less than a full rotation, and that this adds up over time, and that this is why we have to add a day to the calendar.
Wow. I've heard you talk about
this. You got to think of it as like 2 gears. Like, you got to think of it as like there's 2 gears that are running against each other, and they have a mismatched number of teeth. So that after they do a certain number of rotations, it slips, and then you have to add this extra day. But no, that's not how it goes, man. There actually is an extra day.
Wow. Every 4 years.
Every 4 years, there's an extra day between you count between
Okay.
equinoxes.
Hmm.
That's how you're supposed to do. You count between equinoxes. That's how.
Man, I want to take this down an astrology route, but that's not why we're here. Just to kind of gain some understanding. Like, how could most people not know that? That's insane. Another blow my head off brought to you by Indio.
Yeah,
What
how could
about
people
Well, I
not
mean,
know
I didn't
that?
come up with this. This is
Cleverly
just
lied
the other
about it.
people have like.
Right.
Yeah, so other people found it. I didn't find it.
Right. But you're shedding
Some
the
Russian
light.
flat earther found it. He went and he looked up. He looked at every single. He counted. Dude, we're talking about some work. This guy went and he looked at all the calendars going back to like 1888 or something. Serious. And he counted the days, man. He sat there and counted all the days like in a year between like sunrises and sunsets to verify that this is what's happening.
Holy cow. Wait, what's this dude's name again?
Here, I'll post the video because Antonio Subrat's interviewed him.
Oh. So this is something that was observed and documented.
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah.
Oh. So this individual that did these observations or wait, okay, I'll just watch the video and then go
It's
from
fairly
there.
long. It's just him like really describing it, but like you should be able to, like in the first 10 minutes you'll figure out exactly what he's talking about. I guess like the first 10 minutes is him talking about it, and then the rest of it is kind of him going over like the actual evidence. Because you know how globalists are, right? You can say, yeah, this is what happens, and they'll just go, nuh-uh.
Right.
Unless you actually show the evidence, no matter how boring it is, like they'll just say, nuh-uh.
Yeah, because they ain't got nothing.
So another coincidence? How about shooting stars never come from up the horizon? Come from up, you know what I mean?
I haven't thought about that in forever, Dave. That was always one of my favorites.
Oh, so Dave, you just remind me one. The magic speed, right? All the craters on the moon are perfect circles.
Yep, that's a good one.
The other magic coincidence, the magic speed. Neil deGrasse Tyson says if they come in at a magic speed. Those words actually came out of his face.
Wow.
It's a magic speed.
Wow.
Turns out there is a magic speed.
Wow.
Which there would have to be because it would be impossible to have a direct impact, seeing as how all those craters we're looking at. We only see that same face, so whatever would have hit for the impact would have had to come through the Earth to hit it, or it's got to come from the side and have a magic speed.
Don't be a science denier, Lou. The magic speed is scientific.
I'm
You
working
should know
on it
because
now.
it has the word magic in it.
Do you guys think Neil ever gets handed a script and he's like, I'm not saying that?
I don't know. He was pretty enthusiastic about this one, and the way he was doing his circles around his like temple area as if it was crazy. I'll post it. I'll post the clip. But yeah, he
Speaking
does
of
these little.
posting,
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think the more batshit crazy it is, the more he wants to say it.
Indio, were you going to post a video and then we were talking about other stuff?
Yeah, I did. Right there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I'm going to go find that lineage thing.
Oh, yeah, please. But yeah, I'm good.